The Forgotten Expedition. Chapter 1. The Journey Begins. I still remember the first day we set out. The air was thin, sharp with the scent of pine and frost. Our boots crunched against the gravel, road that wound its way into the northern range. We were 5, explorers, dreamers, fools maybe. There was Orin the guide, quiet but steady. Lena, the geologist, stubborn and brave. Marek, the cameraman, always smiling behind his lens. And Theo, our leader, confident, fearless, always walking ahead. Then there was me, the one who would live to tell this story. The map said it was an uncharted valley. No roads, no villages, no signs of civilization for miles. Locals called it the Whispering Range. They told us not to go. Theo just laughed. That's exactly why we should. Lena rolled her eyes. Because the locals say it's cursed? Because no one else has been there, he replied. And that was enough for all of us. The deeper we went, the quieter it became. Even the birds seemed to vanish. The wind died somewhere behind the mountains, and only our footsteps filled the silence. We camped by a frozen stream that first night. The moon hung low and red, casting long shadows across the trees. Orin built the fire, his hands trembling slightly. "You cold?" I asked. He shook his head. "No, just listening." "To what?" "The forest," he said softly. "It's too quiet." Theo laughed. "You're starting to sound like them." But when the wind blew, it carried something strange. A faint sound, like a whisper buried in the trees. None of us spoke after that. In the morning, frost covered everything. Our tents, our packs, even the ashes of the fire. Lena pointed at the ground near the stream. "Those aren't our footprints," she said. They weren't. Small, narrow, deep, like bare feet pressed into the ice. Orin followed the tracks a few steps, then stopped. "They lead upstream," he said. Theo shrugged. "Probably animals." "Animals don't walk." "Upright," Lena muttered. No one replied. We packed and moved on. The valley opened before us, wide, endless, and white. Mountains rose on all sides like jagged teeth. And in the distance, fog rolled over the snow like slow-moving smoke. By noon, the temperature dropped. Marek's camera stopped working in the cold. He swore under his breath and slapped the side of it. "Damn thing." "Froze." Theo turned. "Then use your eyes instead." Marek laughed. "And miss the money shot?" "Never." But his smile didn't last. As we climbed the next ridge, the air grew heavier. Each breath burned. Our lungs. The snow underfoot wasn't soft anymore. It was hard, metallic. When I looked closer, I realized why. It wasn't ice. It was glass. Thin, smooth, and cold to the touch. Like the ground had. Melted and frozen again, unnaturally. Lena crouched, running her glove over the surface. "This isn't natural," she whispered. "Theo, wave her off. Glacial residue. Don't overthink it." But Orin wasn't convinced. "Something burned here," he said quietly. We looked around. He was right. The trees ahead were blackened. Not cut. Not rotted. Burned. The valley stretched beyond. That burn line. Fog clung low, hiding everything beyond. Theo smiled, pulling his scarf tighter. "We're close." "Close to what?" I asked. He grinned. "History." And kept walking. By the second night, we reached the ruins. Half-buried stone walls, eaten by moss and ice. A bell tower leaned sideways, cracked in half. It looked like a village that time forgot. Lena's flashlight flickered across old carvings. Symbols, circles, lines, and spirals etched into the walls. Marek filmed them, whispering, "This is insane." But the wind rose suddenly, howling through the ruins. The sound turned the carvings into something else. A rhythm, a whisper, a language made of air. I felt in my chest, low and cold. Something alive was moving through. The valley. Theo stood at the center of the ruins, smiling like a man possessed. "This is it," he said. "Proof that civilization existed here." Orin shook his head. "This isn't a civilization. It's a grave." Theo ignored him. That night, I couldn't sleep. The fire crackled, but didn't give warmth. I lay awake, staring at the dark outline of the ruined tower. And then I heard it. A voice. Soft, female, singing in a language I didn't know. It came from the direction of the tower. I sat up, my heart pounding. "Do you hear that?" I whispered. No one moved. Then Marek stirred. "Yeah," he said. "I hear it too." We grabbed our flashlights and stepped outside. The mist had thickened, glowing faintly in the moonlight. The voice was clearer now, distant, echoing through the fog. It drew us forward. When we reached the tower, the door was open. Inside, it was dark, except for a faint glow at the top. We climbed slowly, each step creaking under our boots. The song stopped. At the top, there was nothing. Just shattered stone and the cold night sky. Marek lowered his camera. "Did you see?" he started. But then something moved. A shadow, tall and wrong, slid across the wall. For a moment, it looked human. Then it was gone. The wind howled again, loud enough to drown our thoughts. We ran back to camp. Theo and Lena were waiting, their faces pale. "What happened?" she asked. Before I could answer, the singing started again. This time it was everywhere. From the ruins, from the hills, from beneath the ground. In the firelight, our shadows began to move on their own. Chapter 2, The Warning in the Wind. The singing didn't stop that night. It drifted through the fog like a heartbeat, soft but unrelenting. Every gust of wind seemed to carry a new verse, whispered in a language that didn't belong to the living. I remember staring at the flames, watching them flicker as if reacting to every note. Lena sat beside the fire, her eyes wide, her hands trembling. "It's coming from everywhere," she whispered. Theo tried to speak, but his voice cracked. "It's just the wind." But it wasn't. The air itself felt alive, vibrating. Even Orin, always calm, looked pale. His eyes darted toward the ruined tower. "There's something in the valley," he said. "The wind doesn't sing." Theo turned sharply. "Enough of that. We came here to document, not to hallucinate." He grabbed his journal and began writing furiously. Marek stared into the fog. The lens of his camera glowed faintly, capturing nothing but white haze. Then, for a second, something passed in front of it. A shape. He froze. "Did you see that?" We all turned. "See what?" "Someone walked through the fog," he said. "How lauget nevau seen?" "Probably your reflection." But Marek didn't laugh. "I know what I saw," he said, voice shaking. And for the first time, no one argued. The fire hissed as a sudden gust swept through the camp. Our tents rippled violently, ropes straining. The singing turned into something else. A low, rumbling hum that crawled into our bones. "Get inside," Orin shouted. We stumbled into the tents, holding the flaps shut. The wind screamed outside, carrying whispers that almost formed words. Lena buried her face in her hands. "It's not the wind," she said, trembling. "Then what is it?" I asked. She looked up, eyes hollow. "The valley's talking." No one slept that night. The storm raged until dawn, though the sky never changed color. When we stepped outside, the fire was gone, and the air was unnaturally still. No birds, no sound, just the valley breathing around us. Theo was the first to break the silence. "We keep moving," he said firmly. "After last night?" Marek asked. "How thought I then?" "Especially after last night." We packed in silence. Every sound, every zipper, every crunch of snow felt too loud. The fog thickened, swallowing our footprints as we walked. It was like the valley didn't want us to leave. By midday, the ruins were gone behind us. Only white mist and dead trees remained. Lena stopped suddenly. "Wait," she whispered. "What is it?" Orin asked. She pointed ahead. Through the fog, a figure stood motionless. Tall, still, watching. Theo raised his hand. "Hey, over here." The figure didn't move. He waved again. "Maybe a villager." "There are no villages here," Orin muttered. We walked closer. The shape became clearer. Not a person. A wooden post. Carved roughly into the wood was a symbol, a circle of lines. The same as the carvings in the ruins. Lena touched it gently, tracing its edges. "It's a warning," she said. "House, gulp, or a marker, or a grave," Orin added softly. We moved on. The deeper we went, the stranger the valley became. The snow was gone, replaced by dark, damp earth. The trees leaned inward, their branches forming archways over the path. It felt like walking into a throat. The light began to dim. Though it was midday, the sun was nowhere to be seen. Everything glowed faintly gray, as if the air itself filtered the light. The temperature dropped with each step. Marek's camera beeped softly. Battery's dead again, he muttered. He hit it, and for a moment the screen flickered on. The image showed the forest, and behind us 5 silhouettes. We froze. There's only 4 of us, I whispered. Theo turned around instantly. Nothing. Just fog. Must be lens flare, he said, but his voice was too quick. He kept walking, faster now. We followed in silence. No one looked back. That evening, we found a clearing surrounded by ancient stones. They formed a circle, half buried in moss and soil. At the center lay a pile of ash, untouched by wind or time. Orin stopped. We shouldn't camp here. Theo ignored him. It's flat. It's dry. It'll do. We set up camp reluctantly. The air felt heavy, thick, humming with quiet. Energy. Even the fire refused to burn bright. Lena sat close to me, whispering, "Do you think we're being watched?" I didn't answer, because I already knew the answer. That night, the singing returned. This time it was closer. It moved around us, circling the camp like a predator. I saw shadows moving just beyond the firelight. Orin stood, gripping his knife. "Show yourself," he shouted into the dark. The wind stopped. Then a whisper replied, "Leave." We froze. Theo grabbed his flashlight, aiming it toward the trees. The beam cut through the fog and caught something. Moving. Something tall and pale, gliding between the trunks. Marek turned on his camera, hands shaking. "Are you getting this?" Theo hissed. "I'm trying." The camera flickered. Static filled the air, louder than the wind. And in that moment, all the shadows vanished. The forest went completely still. Even our breaths sounded too loud. Theo lowered his light slowly. Then something touched my shoulder. Cold. Wet. I spun around. Nothing. "Did you feel that?" I asked. Orin nodded slowly. We all did. The air pulsed once like a heartbeat. And from the circle of stones came a single, echoing sound. A bell. Lena screamed. The fire exploded upward, then died instantly. Darkness swallowed everything. And from that darkness came whispers, hundreds of them, chanting, "How's Southet? Run!" We stumbled through the fog, tripping over roots and stones. I heard Lena fall behind me, her voice cutting off abruptly. When I turned back, she was gone. Marek's flashlight spun wildly, flashing against trees and faces that weren't ours. Orin grabbed my arm. "Don't stop." The ground shook beneath us. The chanting grew louder. By the time we stopped, we were alone. Theo was gone. Lena was gone. Only Orin, Marek, and I remained. We collapsed behind a fallen tree, gasping. The mist pulsed like it was breathing. "What the hell was that?" Marek whispered. Orin just stared into the fog. "It's not wind," he said quietly. "It's the valley." And then, from somewhere in the distance, the bell rang again. Chapter 3. The Night of the Lost. We didn't sleep. We couldn't. The bell kept ringing, slow, steady, and raw. Every toll echoed through my bones. Marek sat against the tree, clutching his camera. Like a weapon, Orin stared into the fog, blade still drawn. The fire we tried to build wouldn't light. The air was too wet, too heavy. Something was watching us. I whispered, "We have to go back. Lena might still be alive." Orin shook his head slowly. "If we go back, none of us will be." "But we can't just leave them," I said. He looked at me, eyes hollow, tired. "The valley doesn't give back what it takes." Marek spoke suddenly. "She screamed once," he said, voice trembling. "And then I saw her, or something that looked like her." I turned. "What do you mean?" He swallowed hard. "When the fire went out, I saw her shape in the fog. But her eyes..." He stopped, shivering. They weren't hers anymore. A cold silence settled over us. I want to tell him he was wrong, but I couldn't, because deep down, I knew he wasn't. The fog had changed. It wasn't just mist, it was alive. We decided to move at dawn, though dawn never came. The light never changed. The valley was stuck between night and day, trapped in its own shadow. When we started walking, The fog followed us like a tide. Every path looked the same trees, the same stones, the same burnt smell. We walked for hours, but never left the clearing. The forest had swallowed the trail. Marek checked his GPS again. "It's useless," he muttered. Orin said nothing. He just kept staring at the trees, as if listening. Finally, he whispered, "Do you hear it?" I froze. "Hear what?" He pointed at the ground. At first, I heard nothing. Then, faintly, a heartbeat. It was coming from below. The earth itself was pulsing. Marek backed away. "That's impossible." But the rhythm grew stronger, like something massive was sleeping beneath us. Then came the whispers. Again, low, murmuring, familiar. Voices we knew, Lena's, Theo's, calling our names. "Help us," they said. "We're here." Orin's hand tightened on his knife. "That's not them." But Marek shouted, "Lena, Theo, where are you?" He ran into the fog before we could stop him. His flashlight vanished instantly. "Wait," I yelled, chasing after him. Orin grabbed my arm. "Don't." But it was too late. I was already running. The fog swallowed everything, light, sound, air. I could barely breathe. "Marek," I shouted. "Where are you?" No answer. Then a sound. Footsteps close. "Marek?" I whispered. A figure emerged. At first, I thought it was him. Same jacket, same shape. But when it looked up, I realized it wasn't. The face was wrong. Stretched, empty, smooth where eyes should be. It tilted its head like it was studying me. Then it smiled. Not with lips, but with the sound of scream. I stumbled back, heart pounding. Something brushed past me. Orin. He swung his knife, slicing through mist. The thing shrieked, dissolving like smoke. But the air didn't clear. "Marek's gone," I said. Orin nodded grimly. The valley took him. I could see guilt in his eyes. He was starting to break too. We moved again, though the fog never lifted. The trees grew thicker, closer together. Sometimes I thought I saw shapes between them, watching, waiting. The singing had changed now, lower, slower, like a funeral hymn. We came to a river we didn't remember crossing before. The water was black, still, and perfectly silent. Something glimmered. Beneath the surface, metal. Orin knelt down. "Tools," he murmured. He reached in and pulled out a rusted pickaxe. The handle was wrapped in rotted cloth, and carved into the wood were symbols, same as on the ruins. "This valley was mine once," he said softly. "By who?" I asked. He looked up at me. "By people who never left." We followed the river upstream. The fog thinned, revealing the dark mouth of a cave. The air that poured from it was warm, wet, and smelled of iron. Gold shimmered faintly along the walls. Orin exhaled slowly. "There it is." I frowned. "What?" "The source. The heart of the valley." He stepped inside. I hesitated. Every instinct told me not to follow. But he disappeared into the dark, and I couldn't leave him. The light from my flashlight hit the walls. Veins of gold, thick and tangled, like roots of a buried tree. They pulsed faintly, alive. At the far end of the cave, something stood. A stone altar. And on it, too. Shapes. Lena and Theo. Their faces were pale, eyes open but empty. Their bodies were wrapped in vines of gold, still moving. The veins pulsed in time with the earth. Orin dropped to his knees. "God, how shall leap do I?" For a moment, he spoke. "You shouldn't have come back." Then his eyes rolled back, and the gold tightened around him. I grabbed Orin. "We have to leave." But he was staring at the wall, where dozens of other faces were trapped beneath the stone, screaming silently, half consumed by gold. He whispered, "They're all here. All of them." The ground shook violently. Cracks split open, spilling molten gold that crawled like liquid light. The valley was waking. Orin pushed me toward the exit. "Run. What about you?" He shook his head. "Someone has to hold it back." He didn't fight. He looked at me and whispered, "Don't look back." Then he was gone. I ran. The tunnel behind me collapsed in waves of fire and sound. The light chased me like a living thing. When I burst into the open air, the valley was shaking apart. The fog turned red. The bell rang once more, deafening, final. And then silence. I fell to the ground, gasping, staring at the ruins. In the distance, Everything was burning gold. The valley was devouring itself. And in that blinding light, I saw shapes, human, countless, watching. Their faces were calm. Their voices were one. Go, they whispered. Tell them. I ran until my legs gave out. When I looked back, the valley was gone. The mountains had swallowed it whole. Only the wind remained. Chapter 4, The Survivor's Truth. I don't know how long I ran. The world outside the valley felt unreal, thin, colorless, hollow. When I collapsed on the dirt road, I could still feel the ground, breathing beneath me. The mountains exhaled, slow and steady, as if alive. I remember screaming, but the sound never left my throat. The valley had taken my voice and given me something else. A silence that hummed, a silence that spoke. When I finally saw headlights in the distance, I thought it was a hallucination. The ranger's truck stopped just a few feet away. Two men jumped out, their flashlights blinding me. One shouted, "Jesus, he's still alive." They carried me into the truck. My skin was burning, my hands covered in cuts. I tried to speak, but all that came out was a whisper. "Don't go there." They looked at each other, confused. "Go where?" "The valley," I croaked. "The one that sings." They didn't understand. They just drove fast toward the nearest town. I blacked out before we reached it. When I woke up, I was in a hospital bed. The sheets were white, the air smelled like disinfectant, and the world felt too bright, too clean. A nurse leaned over. "Me, you're lucky," she said. "They found you near the old road. You're the only one." I wanted to ask the only one what, but my throat refused to work. Days passed. The doctor said I was recovering. They said I'd been dehydrated, starved, delirious. They said nothing about the gold dust under my nails. At night, I heard again faintly. A ringing, the bell. Always the same three. Notes. The nurses told me it was a symptom of trauma, that my mind was recreating sounds from the accident. But I knew better. You can't forget the voice of the valley. Sometimes I saw shadows move. Across the floor. Shapes that didn't belong to the room. Once, I woke to find muddy footprints leading to my bed. They stopped right where I slept. After a week, a man came to see me. He said he was from the Ministry of Exploration. He wanted to know about the others, the team, the expedition. I told him everything. He listened, expressionless, as I described the fog, the ruins, the voices, the faces in gold. When I finished, he said only, "There are no records of any expedition registered under that name." I stared at him. "That's impossible." He closed his notebook. "Rest. You've been through a lot." Before leaving, he looked back once. And I swear, his eyes shimmered faintly gold in the light. I didn't sleep that night. I waited until dawn, then checked the mirror above my sink. For a moment, I thought I saw Theo behind me, smiling faintly. When I turned, the room was empty. They discharged me 2 days later. I took a train back to the city, watching the mountains fade through the window. But no matter how far I went, the bell followed. It echoed through the metal of the train, vibrated beneath the rails, and whispered beneath the hum of the engine. Even the passengers around me seemed to sway to its rhythm. Back home, I tried to live normally. I rented a small apartment on the edge of town. I bought groceries, made coffee, tried to sleep. But every reflection, every shadow felt wrong. I started seeing gold in strange places. A shimmer under the sink, a flake on my pillow, a glint in my eyes when I looked too long in the mirror. I told myself it wasn't real, that I was hallucinating, that the valley was gone. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. One night, I found an envelope under my door. No address, no name. Inside was a single photo, black and white. It showed the bell tower perfectly intact. On the back, written in shaky handwriting, was a single word: return. I dropped the photo into the fire. It didn't burn. Instead, the flame turned golden. And for a moment, I smelled the valley again. That scent, cold stone, wet earth, and iron. It never really leaves you. It seeps into your blood, into your thoughts, until you can't tell where it ends and you begin. I began hearing them again, the voices, at first only in dreams, then in the static of the television, then in my own heartbeat. They whisper my name. sometimes softly, sometimes in unison, always calling me back. I try to fight it. I left the city. I moved south, changed my name, avoided the mountains. But even the wind carried that low hum. One morning, I woke up with mud on my shoes. I hadn't been outside. The smell of pine clung to my clothes, and a thin line of gold dust led to the window. I told myself I was sleepwalking, but there on the glass, someone had written with their finger, "The valley waits." I smashed the window. The glass shattered, but the words remained, etched into the air, glowing faintly. I left the apartment that night. I never went back. The further I ran, the more I saw it. On road signs, on reflections in water, even carved faintly into the skin of my hands. The valley wasn't a place anymore. It was inside me, and it wanted out. Months passed. I wandered from town to town, sleeping in bus stations and motels. People stopped looking me in the eye. Maybe they saw what I couldn't hide anymore. One night, in a small village, I heard the bell again, louder than ever. It came from the hills beyond the forest, and with it, the singing. Soft, beautiful, terrible. The same voice that haunted my dreams. This time, I didn't run. I followed it. The forest welcomed me like an old friend. The fog rose as I walked, wrapping around me like a blanket. The air shimmered with faint gold dust, glowing softly in the moonlight. And then, there it was, the valley, whole again, alive. The bell tower stood tall, its walls unbroken, its light flickering like a heartbeat. The ground pulsed beneath my feet. I stepped closer. The whispers grew louder. Voices layered over one another. Theo, Lena, Orin, even Marek. They were all there. "Come home," they said. I stopped at the edge of the ruins, where the fog met the earth. The ground trembled, waiting. My hands shook. Part of me wanted to run, but another part, deeper, older, knew this was where I belonged. I stepped forward. The fog parted like curtains, revealing the altar once more. Only this time, it wasn't stone. It was gold. Pure, living, breathing gold. It rippled like water as I approached. The surface reflected not my face, but theirs. Theo smiled. Lena reached out a hand. Orin nodded slowly. Marek lifted his camera. "You found your way back," Theo said softly. "Why me?" I asked. "Because you listened," Lena whispered. "The valley rewards those who hear." The bell rang once more, and the ground cracked open beneath me. Light poured out, warm and blinding and endless. I fell, but it didn't feel like falling. It felt like being lifted, pulled into something vast and ancient. Voici sur un dead million, endless, éternel. Each whisper carrying names long forgotten. Each echo weaving into one sound. A living song of gold and sorrow. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in the valley. I was standing on a street corner in the city. Morning light, cars, people, normal. Except the sky shimmered faintly gold, and the sound of the bell still rang beneath it all. A slow, steady heartbeat beneath the world. I looked down at my hands. They glowed faintly, veins of gold running just beneath the skin. And when I breathed, the air shimmered. I smiled, or maybe the valley did, through me, because I finally understood. You don't escape it. You become it. Now, sometimes I walk past people on the street. They stop, look at me, and shiver. They don't know why, but I do. The valley isn't gone. It spreads, through whispers, through gold, through me. And when the wind blows just right, you can hear it too. The faint toll of the bell, calling someone else home. Because somewhere out there, another fool will follow the sound, and the valley will open again. Waiting, always waiting, forever alive, forever gold.